I did a video a while back trying to figure out what to do with this wall here. I think the kind of the consensus I had on with the comments and people that I talked to was just to go ahead and frame the wood on the inside of the metal here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get this prepped to do a French cleat wall up and down the. It's about 12 foot of space that I'm going to utilize. That won't go all the way to the end down there, but it'll get me pretty close and give me a good starting point to get some of my stuff up off the ground. I'm going to have to take down the pegboard that I put up just a few weeks ago, but it isn't a very big deal. Speeding the video up to 800% will make it go a little quicker too. I do like pegboard. There are just some things that are easier to hang on a pegboard than a cleat wall. I'm at Home Depot picking out wood. I was shocked at the difference in pricing for 2x4 boards. If you're willing to go with an 8-foot board, they're about half the price of a 10-foot board. And the 12-foot boards are only $1 more than 10, so that's not a big deal. I was also pretty shocked about the 4x8 OSB panels. They were around $11 the night before when I checked online. When I got to the store, they were up to $14 each. I ran to the big orange box store, got my wood. I was kind of going back and forth on whether to get 8-foot or 10-foot boards. So 8-foot would have went, I don't know, about 8 inches above that metal beam right there, but then the rest of the way up would have just been blank. So I decided to go 10-foot boards. Now, unfortunately, the 8-foot boards are amazingly less than half price or around half price of the 10-foot board. But again, I think over the whole span of this wall, it would have been like $20 more to go ahead and do the 10-foot board. So I decided to do it that way. Now, if I hold the 10-foot board here, get it flush on the floor down there, and go all the way up, it's going to be too tall, especially since I'm framing this. I'm going to have a top and bottom piece, so I'm going to need to cut off, let's say I have a 1.5 inches on the top, 1.5 inches on the bottom, then maybe another inch or two, so at least cut off 4 inches. So it won't be quite 10 foot. It'll be, 9.5 feet, 9 inches, or 9 feet, 8 inches, whatever. But I think the good thing is this will go all the way up. And, I really like the idea of completely hiding all the electric wiring up there. So I'm going to start framing out this wall, and then I'll kind of come back and show you what I'm doing with a little more detail as we get going. I cut one board to length. I added a top and bottom piece of scrap, just so I can see exactly how it will line up on the wall. Looks to be just about perfect. Now I'm going to use my first board as a template and make sure the boards are all the same. I use a clamp to hold down one end of the boards. That way I can cut them on the other end and they'll be exactly the same length. I'm starting to frame out the walls. I would typically use my framing nailer to assemble these, but I'm wanting to be able to take this entire wall down if I ever get the building spray foamed. So I'm using screws to put this wall together. So here's the framed out wall. I ended up making spacers and just using spacers instead of trying to rely on the marks. And it worked out pretty good. As you can see, I did get off a little bit from the marks, but it really doesn't matter. And of course, as I knew, some way I didn't math correctly. I had thought I needed 9 boards, 10-foot boards. Looks like I'm going to need 10. But again, I was kind of screwed up at the beginning, thinking 16 inches between boards when it's actually 16 inches on center. So I'm not sure if I haven't even thought about it. That may be how I got off there. But either way, ready to see if I can stand this thing up by myself. Well, it's easy enough to lift. But wait, it's tall enough that it is hitting my newly installed LED lights. So I'm going to have to come at this from a different angle. In my greenhouse video, You probably noticed I used the front end loader on the tractor to lift the walls in place. That would have been ideal here, but I'm not sure I'd been able to get the tractor in here with so much stuff in the way. I'm going to put in some angle braces and some blocking to make sure the wall is sturdy. I'm putting in the blocking at the same height where the edge of the OSB will go, just to give it a little more strength. I'm going to use these wood to metal screws that I already had. They aren't quite long enough, so I'm going to drill a countersink hole about halfway through the studs. Then I'll come back and screw them into the metal. Do the same for the top metal beam. All right, we're getting closer. You can see I've got the studs just tied in really well. I don't know if you can tell I'm leaning against it, putting all my weight on it. It's definitely not coming off. The only thing I've got left to do now, see if I can get a view here. I'm going to come back and I've got some Tapcon blue screws I'm going to put into the ground just to go into the concrete on the base there to make sure this thing is incredibly sturdy. I do not have a long enough screws to go all the way through the wood, so I'm going to have to kind of pre-drill a little bit of a hole and then drill into the concrete and put in the Tapcon screws. But we're getting there, making good progress. It is nice having 3 drivers for this application. One to drill the countersink hole, a hammer drill to drill into the concrete, and a driver to put in the screw. Now I'm going to cut out the holes for the electric boxes with my jigsaw and put up the OSB. I do have an oscillating saw. That would have likely been a better solution to cut the holes for the electric boxes. I just didn't think about it at the time. I thought about putting up some braces to hold the OSB panel in place, but decided to just man up and lift it just to save some time. Give it a little tap just to make sure it sounds sturdy. Well, I was getting ready. I was going to try to run this 4x8 sheet of OSB through the table saw, and it's just a little bit sketchy for me to try to manhandle this thing and get it lined up through that saw. There's nobody else home right now, so it would be just me doing it, and I don't really feel comfortable with that. So what I think I'm going to do is just go ahead and draw a center line down the middle and cut it with the circular saw, and then I'll run each piece through the table saw there to get it down to exactly where I want. And I'll probably take off, instead of each one of them being almost 24, I'm going to end up making them maybe 23 and a half just to clean off the edge I cut to make sure they're exact. But either way, like we talked about earlier, there's not an exact space up there. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly 24. It's going to go a little bit above the board, which will be perfect. So it'll be good at 23 and a half. I really need to invest in a track saw for purposes like this. Now I'm a little more comfortable running a 2-foot by 8-foot piece through the table saw. All right, got the 2 boards cut in half. Of course, one of these I'll have to cut midway down to make it fit. Just get these last couple of pieces put up. You can see from this view how the lights hang down just enough to be in the way of lifting the wall. Well, that does it. Got the new wall stood up. Got the OSB on it. Everything's good to go. The next step's going to be to start putting up some type of French cleat system. I'm going to do that in another video. This video turned out to be a lot longer than I'd anticipated just because, as usual, I'll run into a lot of problems doing this stuff. Anyway, I want to get a French cleat system and finally retire this old temporary one I made when we first moved in, just somewhere to get my tools off the floor. I'll also probably make a few pegboard systems that I can hang on the French cleat, and I'm probably going to go ahead and turn around to you, if I can show you here, the 2 little containers systems there, small parts containers. I'll probably end up building something from them and hang them up here on the French cleat, just to kind of get them out of the way, because right now they've got a little dedicated area there, they said, but it takes up floor space, so I want to get rid of that. And eventually, this area over here, we'll probably get some framing and OSB on it, and maybe all the way over there around the door, possibly. I don't know. But this other side over here, it's probably always going to be like a garage. I'll probably keep the side-by-side parked in there. I don't want side-by-side to wander off, so we'll probably always kind of keep it over there and use that as a garage. So I'm definitely not going to mess with trying to, create a wall over there or anything. Eventually, I would like to pull everything out of here and get it spray foamed. But just like everything, it's a matter of process, of budget, and when you can afford to do it. And just like anything, if I've got money to do that, there's probably 50 other things competing for that money. So overall, I'm definitely happy with the wall. I'm ready to start using it. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what you think.